Hey guys, it's Corey again over at Cyber Strategies AI. Today we are doing part 3 of the how to avoid using the custom webhook function in GoHighLevel, specifically for Air. What I found was, let me pull up my structure here. What I found was the cost, if you were to do the previous route, was that we went from you load leads from your database into GoHighLevel, and then up here to the voice AI caller, in this case Air.ai. If you do that, and it costs you a penny and a half, whatever it is, to do that, that applies to all of your leads. And then only a certain number of leads get answered and come back this route. So this one is unavoidable. That one has to be a custom webhook to actually execute that, for it to catch that. Move that out of the way a little more. The going the other way, you can act along and then hit this transformer service and then have it actually execute the properly formatted call to Air.ai. So that's what we're doing, and it's about this transformer service right here. So we're just trying to cut the cost. So I'm modeling this as though, what if you loaded 40,000 leads? Well, 40,000 leads loaded in here is going to be expensive just to get them into Air. And then with the agent rotator, the agent system here, and I've made videos on that will automatically manage the calls that come back. If they're less than so much time, then we're going to call it, it wasn't a good call. We want to call them back. And then those leads would get put back in the queue and then called again. So they go back up this path. Well, it was just a pretty high expense for that, to have all of the leads go in and then all of the answered calls come back through, and et cetera, et cetera. So this is a way to eliminate that extra cost, or way reduce it significantly. So anyhow, let's see how that's being done. The other thing was, this also does the leads API and the calls API. Both the leads API and calls API. Last video, I only had it working with the leads API, but I have now worked it out where the calls API works also. And you can just select it, and I'll show you how. Right here is what I added to be able to do the different APIs. So API-URL is another piece that I put in the custom data, and I'm passing that just that string. So this will get substituted in as the actual URL that gets called when we bounce here. So that is specifying the URL that's called over at Air to use that version, the version 1 instance of the leads API. So let's take a look. That this is one way to do it, or this is one way that you can do it. You can also replace this with the word calls, or call or calls. I forget which it is, but anyhow, whatever it is, you just replace it with that, and now it will do the other. It'll do the other route, the other API route, the calls route versus just the leads route. The thing that I did add to it was, there's a difference in the two APIs. The calls API requires a field called metadata, where the leads API requires extra fields. The calls API requires a prompt ID, where the leads API requires a list ID. So the bonus here is that I can put all of these in to either one of the calls. So this lets me use one unified path. I just change out which one of these I'm doing and which one of these is valid for the call. So prompt ID if I'm doing a calls API, list ID if I'm doing a list API, and those, you need to make those valid. Those, like, if I'm doing calls, I have to have the prompt correct. If I'm doing leads, I have to have the list correct. But you can have them in there and it ignores fields that it's not using. So that allows me to send this exact same structure with either one of these things. And let me show you why I'm doing both of them. We've had some situations where campaigns have gotten backed up, and this uses Air campaigns. And this one, I haven't fully developed out this flow, but you can see it still has a custom webhook, so we don't use it yet. But I can, and I want to open it up so that I can, so that I'm not having to use a custom webhook for this, for either one of them. So the calls API will call immediately. So there are times when campaigns are backed up, and I can switch my customers over. You could switch your customers over to the calls API, and that will go out. That should go out immediately. That'll jump ahead of the queue. So if we want to use the calls API, the big thing with the calls API is you have to manage every call. There's no automation behind it, and there's no budget management, which there is if you're using a campaign. So this side over here stuffs leads onto a campaign. This one right here, this is my other route, and I have a debug route too that just bypasses all of this stuff. So when I'm doing my testing, I can set this. I call it the Air calling mode. I can set it to leads API, calls API, or debug, and it'll follow one of these routes. So what I can do, if let's say we get backed up on campaigns, and sometimes it can last for a little while. Even on the agency servers, we've had some trouble. I think they're adding more capacity to solve that, but I want to be able to, if I have something critical, I switch over here, and now I manage every single call that goes out to my customers' clients, and so we're in this path now, and I'm able to switch over. I'm waiting 12 hours, 20 minutes, whatever it is. I can also do more custom tweaking and tuning. So that's why I want the calls route to also be available in this solution, because this one is built out with all custom webhooks, and this one is built out with standard webhooks. So if I need to, I build this out here, and the agent switcher and the call management and the disposition management, all of that stuff all works. It all works. I just have to change out what is how I actually call Air. So let's jump over. Let's see. Yeah, we want to see how it really works. We don't need that one. We're over at webhook.site. Okay. So here's one of my test ones. I just put some test data in here. I made up some names and numbers, and this is it actually calling with the calls API. So the API URL, I pass that in there, and it actually then it sticks it in right here and called it. I have my security on here, my API key anyway for this service, and it sends all of this information in here. You'll see it sends the prompt ID, and it says the list ID, it says extra fields and metadata. All of those are in that call, and Air accepted it. I tested it. I got actually that one didn't work. I couldn't call that number, so I had to put a real number in, and it worked. So Air accepted it, but then it wouldn't actually make the call in this case. But the next one I did do, and it made the call. So I got a 200 status back. All of that stuff works, even with these extra fields in a calls API. And all I have to do, again, is change this right here to go to the leads API. So then it will just automatically substitute that in right there. And that is in my custom actions. I'll show you how I do that right here in this HTTP request. This is how I'm building the fields out, but right there, that's it. JSON custom data.api -URL, and luckily it takes a variable there. I assumed it would actually, so I don't know if it's that lucky, but it puts in the one of the two API routes that I want. So I have a unified solution that will work with calls or leads API. It'll translate them, send all the proper data, and works with my agent system. So I'd be willing to offer this as a service if somebody wants to do this. This could save you significant amounts of money on running your leads. So, and I can do it for a pretty minimal, pretty reduced amount. I would have to see your use case and understand what that is and see how to do that. But I can build this, set it up, maintain it for you, whatever. I'll put my contact information down in the link below. If you just want to learn how to do this, here's the video, and the hopefully you're able to follow it enough with the information I've given to recreate this yourself if you want to. So I think that about covers it, and good luck. I hope this helps.